Earthquakes might be shaking things up for me and this week's guest, but more people were affected by a total outage at Facebook that affected a few important social media platforms. You needed only to look at Twitter to see the outrage, even coming from our own Jaime Rivera, regarding the loss of service in Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, and WhatsApp. The issue even prompted me and a few of our friends to move to different messaging applications. This week, I sit down with TK Bay and discuss how we rely on all of these services and what we ended up doing when they went dark. And then, after the break, we talk about the recent confusion regarding the Huawei ban and speculate on what the next smartphone from Samsung will bring to the table. In order to keep our show going, we do need the help of great advertisers, and we want to make sure that those advertisers are ones that you want to hear about. So we need to keep learning about you to make that possible. Help us do so by going to podsurvey.com/pocketnow and take a quick anonymous survey that would help us get to know you better, so we can make sure that we're bringing you advertisers that are relevant to you. And once you've completed the quick survey, you can even choose to enter for a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Terms and conditions apply. Head over to podsurvey.com/pocketnow. That's podsurvey.com/pocketnow. Thank you so much for your help and for listening to this episode. By the way, before we finally do get started, I wanted to call your attention to a couple of questions later in the show that you should look out for. I invite all of you to answer them in the comment sections down below to let your voices be heard. And then next week, we will feature some of the top comments live on the show. I feel like I should give like a small explanation. This is one of my fatal flaws when it comes to YouTube and content like this and all that. I always want to explain when certain things happen. There's two of us in this episode. The reason why is because, okay, well, in the first reason, I hope Jaime doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but we're all getting old, man.
Okay. You do, my friend. Okay.
Well, I just turned 30, and I can already. People are already warning me that like things are going to start changing, and I'm open to that. That's cool. You know, I'm all right with that. But then I can totally tell that like jet lag is taking longer to recover from. So that's kind of what Jaime was kind of going through the other day. Facebook, which already in and of itself is kind of they're not really under fire, but I know people call them out for basically owning so many different services on the internet. When Facebook goes down, so does everything else. And that's exactly what happened this past week. Did you get affected by any of that?
Well, mostly on IG, and I haven't really been using Facebook much as far as just using the actual platform. But I noticed it, and I was looking through my Instagram stories, my communication, my messages weren't refreshing, or if it does refresh, it was refreshing to an earlier time in the day where I already kind of refreshed. It's almost like Instagram was drunk for some reason, and it was just bringing up old stories and keep talking about old stuff. And I'm like, I've already checked this. What happened?
Yeah, this is happening more and more, and that's alarming, right?
Yeah, no, it's harder to believe, but it's not the first time. I mean, YouTube was down not that long ago. We've seen other services go down. So it's just the way everything's centralized, and we really need to start building redundancies into these things. If something does go down, like a mainframe goes down, jump on the other one, as opposed to just basically let everything kind of go down and just not have. Especially, like I said, these services existed independently before Facebook. Whatever they did after they took over, they made basically everything funnel through the same path. That's the control. That's their level of control. And I think that's where the issue happened.
I think that with the outage of Facebook, it made us all rethink how we actually communicate with people. What are all the messengers you're using? Just how ridiculous do you think it is that we have so many? And aside from that, here's my other question. And next week on the podcast, I am going to try to call out a few of these comments and actually respond to them. You guys can be featured on the podcast next week. So I want to make sure we start doing that more often. Anyway, what happened to texting? Like, we just don't text anymore.
I would rather send you a message over on WhatsApp, just the ability, because I can share more things with it, longer video formats. There's and the encryption part of it, where text messaging doesn't really have. There's not, you don't really get that whole I feel secure on a text message, but WhatsApp encrypts on both sides. Facebook is trying to, implement these things, and those are things that people are worried about. Other people being able to listen to their communication. And
all right, so we do have some other stories coming up, especially a couple of really high-profile ones coming from two of the companies that a lot of you guys are really into. But we'll talk about that after the break. Support for the Pocketnow Weekly also comes from Netgear and their Nighthawk Wi-Fi 6 router. It gives you ultra-fast speeds and wider coverage throughout your home. It's the biggest revolution in Wi-Fi ever. Our own Brandon Miniman has been using the router in his home. He has a tech-heavy family, and in his house, he has approximately 37 Wi-Fi devices connected all at one time, including security cameras, streaming boxes, and a 4K television, on top of all of the laptops, phones, and tablets. He was recently using the newest router from Apple, for example, to keep all of those devices connected, but noticed a significant increase in Wi-Fi speeds once switching over to the Netgear Nighthawk Wi-Fi 6 router. With any device, he can now go deep into his backyard while maintaining a strong Wi-Fi signal. It's a serious router for those needing the best in throughput, latency, and distance. The devices of today and tomorrow demand more. Turn your Wi-Fi up to 6 with a Nighthawk Wi-Fi 6 router. Check it out today at netgear.com/Wi-Fi 6. That's netgear.com/Wi-Fi and the number 6.
This whole thing with Huawei, and again, we said this weeks ago, Huawei seems to be the one company that is so easy to just use as a scapegoat, which sucks. And also Huawei is the company that keeps being talked about when in general we should be talking about US-China trade war instead of just one company. But, the headlines are always going to talk about Huawei in general.
China actually is not just a trade partner. There's a lot more beyond trade wars. So I'm really hoping he doesn't stretched it throughout the election process, which I really hope it doesn't go that far.
I did not even think of that, and now that you said it, that's probably what's going to happen. Yeah,
because you think about it, right? I mean, it's a little over a year from now, and as long as he plays that, it'll always be in the news. And if he closes it right at the time where people are going to vote, that could be seen as a big move to increase support.
Yeah, so that's true. But I guess that would be a way for us to dovetail into the general discussion of what we want to see from the Note 10.
But I'm looking forward to seeing some new tricks. I want to see some new features they bring into the S Pen, other stuff. Having the ability of using it last year from the Note 9 to take pictures was a lifesaver. And my better half enjoys that feature. Yeah, just the ability of using it, even if you're holding it in your hand, just using the S Pen to initiate an image is a lifesaver. So
then imagine like using that with the wide angle, because the S10 was what introduced the wide angle. So if the Note 10 is going to have it also, man, like that actually makes me excited. Will this unpacked feature another appearance by the Fold, which, okay, to be fair, is supposed to be out by now, right?
It not only is it was supposed to be out, but again, so there's also reports saying that not only has it been fixed, and it was supposed to come out in July.
Yeah.
So there are some reports kind of conflicting reports saying that we're supposed to see it in July ahead of Unpacked, but I understand why the rumors would basically link it to Unpacked, being that it's only like a few days into August. It would make sense for them to show it again.
They'll probably make it so that you can't peel off the screen the way that some people did when the first Fold review units went out. But that also doesn't mean that people are not going to fold it the wrong way. They're not going to. I mean, they might sit on it while it's open. That already is going to break something. Like there are going to be breaks, and I think that there's no way of getting around that. So hopefully Samsung has found a way of at least mitigating that to a small degree.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Pocketnow Weekly and for watching the highlight reel over on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to answer the questions this week in the comment sections down below on the highlight reel. The question being, of course, what are the different messaging services that you're actually using right now? And how ridiculous do you think it actually is that we have so many of them available? You can follow TK over at TKDSL8655 on Twitter and Instagram. And then you know me, I am at JVTechT. I'm JV, I love tech, and I love to drink me some tea. Catch up on what the weekly's talking about at pocketnow.com/podcast and make your voices heard by getting into the comment sections and also by emailing us, podcast@pocketnow.com. Don't forget to give us some reviews and ratings on all of the different services that you might be streaming us. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it on this episode of the Pocketnow Weekly, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.